To me, it's an unforgettable experience. It's something that doesn't happen so often, and for most of the people, probably is on the bucket list. It wasn't mine when I was young, so it is definitely an unforgettable experience.
Panama Canal is absolutely essential to the populations of the world, all of them. It connects the whole world.
To my mind, it's comparable to the building of the pyramids. It's such an amazing achievement, perhaps the greatest engineering achievement of modern history, definitely.
Panama Canal is a very special day. You must be very flexible. As probably you can understand, it's a very complex operation with many ships involved, and a delay from one vessel alone may cause further delay for the remaining vessels. So it is a day where flexibility is playing a very important factor, very important role.
The number of men with vision, of course de Lesseps and the French took 10 years trying and then failed or gave up. But there were other men in place, and there were several men who had to quit for various reasons, but eventually the right man was found to finish the job.
Ferdinand de Lesseps was in charge of the Suez Canal, very successful. He liked being famous. He thought, oh, there's just this 50-mile strip. I can punch a hole through there. It's not as long as the Suez Canal. I can be even more famous. And he talked the French into trying it, and they failed. We had a very courageous president called Teddy Roosevelt, who knew the importance of the canal, and he bought the rights from the French and the equipment and whatever was left here, thinking that we could just punch a hole through there. And it did not turn out to be that easy, as we know. John Stevens, who was the second man, the first man lasted a year. We won't even talk about him, he didn't do a thing. But John Stevens, the biggest, best railroad man in the history of the world, was working 16 hours a day. He was just exhausted. He wrote a letter which was not real nice to the president. The president took it as a resignation. I've read it several times. He did not resign, and he wouldn't comment afterwards when he was interviewed. So the president called a military man, George Goethals. So he inherited the job from Stevens, but he was a military man. He was determined. The president said, you can't quit, and you can't leave there until you're done.
And of course there was the disease, and there was the sheer magnitude of how much earth they had to move. It was just amazing, the teamwork, the number of men involved, and of course many people dying.
And the other hero was Gorgas. Yellow fever was killing people by the hordes, and he was a simple family army doctor, but he had yellow fever, and his wife, and both survived. And his mission in life was to stamp it out. And the rest is history. He did stamp out yellow fever, or we wouldn't have a canal today.
Everything starts early in the morning for us, from the moment we approach the anchorage, which is normally very busy, and then we head down towards the entrance of the breakwater. There is where we pick up the pilots, the agents, the mooring teams, and as well as the officials. Personally, I wait on the bridge for the pilot to arrive. We'll exchange informations before I formally hand over to them the vessel and the con of the ship as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got the Panama Canal! It is 6 a.m. and we are sitting now on the gangway. The pilot has just arrived. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. We're about to start our amazing transit through the Panama Canal. Hope you guys have got your signs ready, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. I need to go jump shore. Ciao.
Then as we approach the main locks, we first go along what is called the center wall, which basically gives us the chance to line up in order to enter the locks. From there, we connect the ship to the mules, and basically the mules are there to help the ships to remain centered inside the lock itself. Basically, the mooring team who are coming early in the morning together with the pilot, they are going to the mooring decks fore and aft, and they pick up from our mooring deck the steel wires from the mules. And these wires are made fast onto the mooring deck. And this is quite unique operation, I say, because pilots are constantly in communication with the mules drivers via radio. Also, they will reply with signals that are coming through bells or flashing lights. And certainly is probably the only place where around the world so far where I've been that such operation is taking place.
Everybody wants to be out there from sunup when you first go through the whole thing. I mean, you don't want to miss a minute of it. And people say, how can you be on a ship with all those thousands of people? Today you go through, you hardly see anybody. On Panama Canal Day, you will see everyone. This huge ship, what impressed me the most was the serenity. You're on this monster ship. It doesn't shake, rattle, and roll anything. It lifts up so quietly you have to look over the side and stare at a certain spot to watch yourself move. And that's what impressed me the most, that you can move something of that magnitude so effortlessly.
You can feel the excitement from here. And it's amazing how concentrated they are in following every single maneuver of the vessel through the locks. Well, my first time through the Panama Canal was a long time ago, and I was on board the Regal Princess. I was a deck cadet, and I was like a kid in a candy store. I knew about the canal from my days back at school. I knew about the history and everything behind this magnificent construction. But being part of the transit was something special. It was like a dream coming true. I remember being on the bridge for the entire day, speechless, looking outside the window, and it was simply amazing.
My name is Ambrosino Johnson. I am a maintenance mechanic of the Panama Canal. I've been working in Panama Canal for 23 years.
I am a security guard for the Panama Canal. I have 16 years service at the Panama Canal. At the Panama Canal, we have a little bit more than 10,000 employees, and every one of them are very vital to the functioning of this wonder of the world.
Best thing is working on the Panama Canal is a lot of different cultures, different peoples, and just being part of this team, because this is a company that serves the whole world, so for me it's a privilege to be part of this team.
I consider the best part of this job is the contribution that I make anytime I come to the job site to make the Panama Canal function. And anytime the Panama Canal get good remarks internationally and nationally, that elevates our sense of pride, bring it high a lot.
So hey guys, how's it going? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day on the ship. As you can see, we've arrived at the airport and we're about to get in this amazing little helicopter. Now the big question is Dempsey, are you ready to get in? Dempsey, Dempsey, Dempsey.
It is indeed very different from any other day, any other arrival, I would say, or departure that can be. The fact alone that the pilot is in charge of your vessel, you know, it's very strange. Although we keep shadowing any of his command, we cross-checking anyway. Then if you think that once you are in the locks, you only got 60 centimeters on each side and 20 meters clearance fore and aft, with 3 meters left under the keel, you know, it's different. It's definitely different.
It's the eighth wonder of the world. There really isn't anything of this caliber anywhere. The Suez Canal is an entirely different experience. They just dug through the sand, threw it both sides, and made a path through there. It was a piece of cake. But when you know what went on and what they had to live through every single day in that horrendous heat with no equipment, and that's what I think about when I go through there. Should have a moment of silence for all the people who gave every measure.
Well, new locks are clearly bigger, and therefore bigger ships will be allowed to transit the canal. For us as Princess Cruises is a huge achievement as well, because if you think about the Grand Class ships, when they are relocated from one side to another of the USA coast, they go all the way around South America, while now they will be allowed to transit the canal.
With the new canal, 14.5 to 15,000 containers. And I forget how many million pairs of women's shoes one ship will go through the lock with now. Millions. That's what's important, right?
If you think the number of vessels been using those locks over the years, you know, and you are using as well, and you are part of the history, you know, I rather prefer to go through the old locks than going through the new one.